We talked about this morning the amount of money, and especially concessional money, that's going to be needed to make sure that we succeed on Mission 300. We heard President Bonga say the World Bank is bringing $30 to $40 billion in so much of our AIIB money, but this is a whole different group of people. And for Mission 300 to succeed, it requires a big tent. It can't just be philanthropy and the World Bank and African Development Bank, but it requires all the people who are going to be on this stage over this panel. So I'm really excited to moderate this session. I'm Andy Herskowitz. I'm the CEO of the Mission 300 Accelerator, which is housed within the Rockefeller Foundation through Rockefeller or RF Catalytic Capital. And my role is basically to help nudge everybody and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to be able to deliver, but we're doing more than that. The Rockefeller Foundation through RF Catalytic Capital already working with the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, we've already delivered on 23 technical assistance projects that are going to help jumpstart World Bank and African Development Bank projects, specific projects that are going to help us reach that $130 million, the 130 projects that will help us reach our 300 million person goal. So we've got the pipeline. Mission 300 is different than anything else that's ever been done, because as we heard this morning, we're bringing in philanthropic capital and other capital from development partners to help de-risk projects to drive that private sector investment. There's going to be a few framing questions that I'd just like to share with everyone that our panelists are going to try to address, and then we have some specific questions for them. But specifically, the general gist of this is that given the scale and urgency of Mission 300's objectives, how are we as organizations positioning ourselves to support Mission 300 and specifically the energy compacts? Are there strategies or approaches that we're prioritizing that could align with or enhance its impact? And what do we see as the single most critical actions that stakeholders must prioritize today to ensure that Mission 300 achieves its objectives by 2030? And more importantly, who else should be invited to join this effort? So I'm going to start right away with Rémy from AFD. And so, Rémy, I'll turn to you and ask you, AFD is one of the most important financiers of energy infrastructure in Africa. How is AFD going to be contributing to help make Mission 300 succeed?
Merci, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew, and good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to say a few words in French, and then I can switch to English. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Tanzanian authorities for their welcome, and my friend Akin from the AFDB, Jay from GIAP, and all the colleagues.
Which is so important. Full support, of course, from our side. This is a no-brainer, access to energy. And of course, with this holistic approach, you are proposing SDG 7 and beyond, of course, as the entry point in the discussion. AFD, as you said it, Andrew, it's about €2 billion investments in the energy sector each year. Access is very strategic for us. It's about €150 million investment and a portfolio of €2 billion on our balance sheet that is implementing this day. I want also to remind all of you what we did in Paris about clean cooking under the leadership of Fatih Birol. In this perspective, AFD committed for €100 million on clean cooking, especially, which is part of the equation. My own President Macron, he really supports the Mission 300. He met with Raj and the Rockefeller Foundation on Friday, and so I think he will commit himself tomorrow for the high-level session. So only the teasing part on my side, just to say what we really want to be a key partner with significant figures of Mission 300, and it will be probably about a 50% increase from what we are already doing by 2030. So maybe a bit too early, Akin, but just don't doubt. And it's of course a commitment by AFD Group. So it's the public side, AFD, but it's also the private side through our subsidiary called Proparco. And it's also the capacity building, technical assistance, vocational training that our second subsidiary called Expertise France can also provide in packages that would include it all, bridging public and private, because we know the solution for access will be private probably, but will still have a significant on-grid, significant public component. Of course, I want to thank the European Union because many of the projects we are financing and Italy and Germany are in the Team Europe scheme and also embarking EU resources that are so precious for the concessional part of this work. Last, I like the idea of national compacts. I connect that with the country platforms work that is ongoing. Also with it's not the same countries, but with the JETP initiatives, especially in South Africa. We are part of it because we know in the end it rests on the country. It rests on the demand side, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution, of course. We know we're working in Ivory Coast and Tanzania on extending the grid, on-grid solutions. We are working in DRC, in the Cabinda region, about innovative off-grid solutions. So that will be the combination of all these projects that will make a difference. Of course, following, and that's also, the minister just said it, what we are working with the government of Tanzania, with the best possible trajectories, transition trajectories to reach our common goals. Thank you.
Thank you. So everybody knows I'm actually keeping score up here of the types of commitments that we're going to get from everyone. I know that Rémy maybe is not able to announce a specific number today, but we're going to be watching closely over the next day to see what the contribution is, and I think it's going to be a big one, and we're all going to be very happy with that. I'm going to turn to Mr. Jin right now. We consistently hear calls for re-engineering of the global financial architecture. In fact, I'm one of the people who screams really loudly about this all the time. But basically to be a better fit for purpose for the needs of developing countries. Lower interest rates, local currency financing, scaled blended financing. Mission 300 is responding to the call by bringing together a broad range of public and private development actors. In fact, one of the things that the Rockefeller Foundation and RFCC is doing is we're going to be supporting sustainable energy for all and helping them pursue some local currency financing solutions starting in Nigeria and then working out elsewhere. What do you see AIIB's role in this construct, and what can we expect from the bank in terms of working with others and delivery over the next 1 to 3 years?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, certainly is less well known in this part of the world than the World Bank Group, African Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank. But we actually are now having almost half of the sub-Saharan African countries which are our members, from 57 founding members all the way to 110. And a couple of sub-Saharan African countries are now on their way to be members. So Africa, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, is very much relevant to us, or we are very much relevant to you. We are fully supportive of Mission 300. When we look at the data, for instance, over the last 2 decades, out of the $2.8 billion of renewable energy investment, Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, only receives 2%. And 300 million people without access to electricity is not to be tolerated. This must be changed. So we are working very much, we are very much committed to be working with other multilateral development banks. We work as a system, MDBs work as a system. my friend Alcina, President Alcina, you know, we've been consulting each other for many times, and I also talked to Ajay Bengal, the World Bank's head, and all the others, that we should really work together to mobilize resources. $90 billion is not a small number. And all of the financial resources put together from all these MDBs, DFIs are certainly not enough. So I think it's very interesting, very important for us to mobilize the private sector and philanthropists and all of those who are interested, who are committed to improving the livelihood of the African people. So how much we can do? We are already having operations in Côte d'Ivoire, Rwanda, and we have a big pipeline in some of these countries. We intend to do projects in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Senegal, Benin. We are ready. We are ready. And here I'd like to pledge $1 billion to $1.5 billion to support a mission.
I just added it to the scorecard here. So
yeah, you know, I think I feel still very sorry. Only $1 billion or $1.5 billion, is this enough? I can tell you it's certainly not enough. But this is not the limit. We will continue to allocate resources. So I want to focus these resources for Africa to Mission 300. Of course, we can still do something else. One point I have highlighted again and again to other members, regional members, European members, why we should support Africa and sub-Saharan Africa. Because this is the future in the 21st century. Africa is going to be the growth engine. Africa is going to move on the curve of industrialization. And Africa would be the model state, model continent in this world, that you can strike a proper balance between improve the livelihood of the people and protect the wildlife. This is what we should do. And also, I told my colleagues, you know, in the management team and in the bank and others, and also I told the regional members, when we put $1 in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, does not mean sub-Saharan Africa is $1 richer, Asia is $1 poorer. That's wrong. This is a zero-sum game. It's not right. When we put $1 in sub-Saharan Africa, we improve the connectivity with Asia and others, and then we work together to make the cake bigger and bigger and bigger. That's why I think we should be inclusive. Some people ask me, okay, you have 110, you have so many members. Yes, we have members across the whole world. In each and every continent, we have members except Antarctic. And some people ask me, are you going to change the title of the bank? I say, no. Because Asia, Africa, Latin America, AAA. Good enough. Thank you.
So that was fantastic. With a $1.5 billion commitment, you can speak as long as you want. I would present a challenge to all of our colleagues from the African countries themselves. Tomorrow, your heads of state will be speaking. I would encourage all of them to make their own commitments from their own budgets as well to what they're going to do to advance Mission 300. So it can't just be us. We all have to do this together. Now, my friend, Dr. Jasser, we met yesterday, and I tried to get a number out of him, and he said he was sharpening his pencil and was holding his cards close. So, but more importantly, you're just such an incredible and important partner to Africa. The Islamic Development Bank has been working here for so many years, and so many of the countries that are members of the Islamic Development Bank are compact countries as well. The Islamic Development Bank works in many of the countries that are going to enter into compacts tomorrow, as I just mentioned, as well as other African countries that are in the process of negotiating compacts. And I think we're going to see a few more during the World Bank spring meetings. How do you believe that these countries can take advantage of the Islamic Development Bank's tools and what specific tools you think can be deployed to accelerate energy access specifically?
Thank you very much, and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. At the outset, I would like to thank the government of Tanzania, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, the Rockefeller Foundation for organizing this very timely get-together on such a critical element of development. We are all development specialists in one way or another. But electricity is probably one component that we have not paid sufficient attention. We paid attention, but not sufficient. And I say it's not sufficient because of what was said this morning. It's the bloodline of development. It is a human right. It is a prerequisite for any activity. All of us remember when COVID hit, about between 1.5 to 2 billion children did not have education. Why? Because they didn't have internet. But actually, it wasn't the internet, it was the electricity that wasn't there, and that prevented the internet, that prevented that level of education. So what's going to happen to these children when they grow up and to their communities and to their societies? So we have to do as much as we could. We in the Islamic Development Bank, and for those who don't know the Islamic Development Bank, it's a multilateral development bank with 57 member countries. 27 of them are here in Africa. And energy, including electricity, has taken the largest share of our financing. We had done about $77 billion of financing for energy. And in Africa alone, about 25 member countries benefited to the tune of $33 billion. And we are very active in various countries in Africa now, in the past, and of course, in the future. So we look forward to engaging further. Our affiliates, we have a trade affiliate, we have an insurance, an investment insurance affiliate, and we have a trade facility also. They are all engaged in promoting trading in energy and investing in energy. We have, in Africa alone, the number of projects, as I mentioned, 622 projects in Africa alone in the energy sector. So we have built a lot of bridges also with partners like the World Bank, like the African Development Bank, and other institutions in the Arab Coordination Group, which is the Arab lending institutions. And we know we can build on all of that has been built up over the years. Let me tell you that the Mission 300 looks very promising. But of course, the devil is in the details, as I mentioned to you yesterday. I think we need to get it right this time. And to get it right is that the private sector has to play a pivotal role in that operation. In the sense also that the regulatory regime has to be conducive to the private sector to be in. I think Ajay today emphasized this, and Akin also. We cannot underestimate the role of regulation. We need separation between legislations, between the provision of the service, the companies that build those services, and those that ensure compliance. Those who ensure compliance are the regulators. And all three elements have to operate independently, but very collaboratively. That way, all of these services, be it electricity or telecom, you will see them growing very fast and becoming very significant in the economic development. Looking forward, we in the Islamic Development Bank are very bullish on Africa, and I think we can commit now $2.65 billion.
I was waiting for a drum roll for that one.
And that, yeah, you stole my pencil and you changed it.
You did. You have a very sharp pencil.
And that's going to be $1 billion from the bank itself, $150 million from our private sector arm, the ICD, and $1.5 billion from our trade financing corporation, the ITFC, but also our guarantee or our insurance entity, the AIICC, which provides business insurance and trade insurance, will also insure at least about $2 billion of these activities that are related to energy in Africa. So we are committed. We want to do more in all the countries that are members, and those who are not members, Mr. Minister, those who are not members, we look forward for them to become members of the institution so they can benefit from that. But also I'm banking on very strong collaborative approach between the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and the other MDBs to really bring about credible designs and credible implementation of these projects, and also to reach out to each other to ensure that we really are strong believers in joint efforts, because the needs are just huge. We need to leverage each other's convening powers, capabilities in certain countries, access to finance and what have you in some countries. Each member of us can do something special, but it shouldn't be done alone. We can do a lot together, and I call on all to really focus this time on energy, because it is the key to everything good in development. Thank you.
Thank you. That was fantastic. One thing I want to emphasize is we're hearing a lot of really big financing numbers, and financing is critically important. But the other piece that's really important, it's not always a big number, is the grant capital that's needed, either grant capital, ODA, IDA, the things that are the enablers. And this is one of the things that we're doing with the Mission 300 Accelerator, is smaller grants up to $1 million to help enable the projects that might cost billions of dollars. And so it's important that we factor in all of that type of capital, money that goes to the Sustainable Energy Fund for Africa, that the FDB and that SMAP also does with the World Bank. These are the enablers that make everything happen. I want to turn to our colleague from Italy, Senator Barbaro. Italy organized last year, and for those of you, he's going to respond in Italian, so you might want to get your headsets ready for a translation. Italy organized last year the big Italy-Africa Summit and unveiled the Matai Plan to massively increase investments in Africa, including in the energy sector. In this context, my understanding is that CDP, the Italian Development Bank, is increasingly looking to make overseas investments. Can you please share with us how you envision the Italian government and CDP can help advance Mission 300?
Thank you. I would like to greet my colleagues who preceded me. The issue of energy access in Africa holds strategic importance for Italy, aligning fully with the thematic and geographical objectives outlined in the Matai Plan. This plan aims to work alongside African communities and countries to support the enhancement of Africa's vast human, cultural, and material resources. Italy, in addition to being eager to support Africa, is interested in finding ways to grow together, developing shared pathways for progress. To foster this common journey, we are, of course, open to collaboration with the multilateral tools made available by the international community. The interests of Africa and of its communities, and the protection of its culture and unique characteristics guide Italy in seeking partners and allies for shared development across the continent. Energy-related initiatives under the Mattei Plan are carried out with the following objectives: expanding access to energy for local populations, developing new industrial energy supply chains such as biofuels and the emerging green hydrogen sector, enhancing energy infrastructure to improve the efficiency of local networks and interconnection capacities between Africa and Europe, providing training in energy sector skills to promote job creation, and increasing access to modern cooking systems, so-called clean cooking, addressing a lack that affects around 1 billion people in Africa with dramatic environmental and health consequences, especially for women and children. In this context, Italy confirms its commitment to Mission 300 and to African countries. Italy's adherence to Mission 300 will enable co-financing of strategically significant operations in priority countries for the Mattei Plan, alongside the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and other initiative partners. Specifically, Italy has already established a working group with the World Bank to explore joint intervention opportunities, beginning with projects in the Republic of Congo, Mozambique, Ethiopia, Malawi, Zambia, Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda, under the multi-country program Accelerating the Transition to Sustainable and Clean Energy Access. Additional projects include electrification, digitization, and strengthening of energy utilities in Côte d'Ivoire and the Republic of Congo. Through its participation in Mission 300, Italy also underscores the importance of co-financing as an essential tool to facilitate financial flows towards national electrification priorities and accelerate progress in this sector. We anticipate that the first financing proposals may be approved within the year, in close coordination with the World Bank and government counterparts as part of the Italian government's efforts under the Mattei Plan. Italy is a strong financial supporter of the World Bank's work to expand access to electricity, having increased its contribution to the International Development Association by 24% under IDA 21. Finally, I highlight the Mattei Plan's initiatives to support clean energy exports from North African countries to Italy and Europe through analyses such as the study A Roadmap for Connecting Africa to Europe for Clean Energy Production, conducted by the World Bank and financed by the EU Commission, as well as support for the interconnection infrastructure like ELMED. Additionally, Italy maintains daily contacts with the World Bank to explore synergies between Mission 300 and the instruments of our Ministry of Environment has funded for years with great resources, among these ESMAP, the Energy Sector Management Assistance Programme, to which our ministry has contributed 10 million euros to date, with discussions underway for further financing. Over the past 4 years, this program has mobilized $19 billion in external financing, facilitating the installation of 16.5 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity. The Clean Energy Access Program with International Finance Corporation, supporting the renewable energy market, particularly by fostering sustainable growth in the off-grid solar market and public-private partnerships in Africa. Our ministry has financed this program with over $400 million. With the African Development Bank, our ministry funds Grant 4, the Sustainable Energy Fund for Africa, CEFA, which, with over 12 million euros, supports renewable energy products, energy efficiency, and grid, with Mission 300's core pillars instruments. You can count on Italy. Thank you.
Thanks so much. There was one part of that I just want to highlight for everyone. This is why I mentioned the importance of grant capital, where you mentioned that that the $10 million contribution that you've given to date to SMAP at the World Bank, or the Electrifying Africa program, helped mobilize $19 billion of projects for 16.5 gigawatts of power. So that grant capital, that really flexible money, is incredibly, incredibly important for mobilizing the large amounts of money that are being pledged here today. So thank you for that intervention. I'm now going to turn to Dr. Khan. The OPEC Fund has been championing the cause of energy access in Africa for more than a decade. How can Mission 300 and the work on the energy compacts be a game changer? And how is the OPEC Fund looking to support Mission 300?
Thank you, Andy. See, the beauty of being the last speaker of such a session is that all the money is on the table. There is nothing left to pledge. Right?
There's a lot left.
It's very comfortable for me to answer your question. On behalf of the President of the OPEC Fund for International Development, Dr. Abdul Hamid Al Khalifa, I would like to our sincere appreciation and thanks to the authorities and the peoples of Tanzania for their hospitality, and also to the organizers and co-organizers for inviting the OPEC Fund to take part in this event. For me, personally, allow me
5 to 2 billion children
today in a conference center that bears the name of an illustrious African leader that was and continues to be an inspiration, not only in Tanzania, but beyond. So, turning to your question, I think, and I'm inclined to say that it's not so much the how, but I think it needs to be a game changer, right? Given the sheer dimension of the problem and the challenge, of this problem, there is no alternative than for Mission 300 to be a real game changer. You see, there are reasons to believe that it could be. We have, on the one hand, a bold vision championed by major international financiers on the continent, I should say the major financial financiers. And on the other hand, we have also a real genuine willingness and effort by national stakeholders to enable access to their peoples to modern energy services and a transition to clean energy solutions. So the combination of these two let us believe that there is indeed hope that this initiative could be the right one and make a real change for the people of this continent. So what needs to be done from the international development partners is really to build on this momentum that has been created by this vision, and to ensure also that this is something that is sustainable. So today we will hear pledges, today, tomorrow, commitments. That's good, of course, but this is not something that will be sustainable if there is not a true and very effective coordination of this whole initiative. Because you will have, by default, you will need to have a vast array of players, from the public, from the private, local, international, and this really needs a thorough coordination. So I think that would be for us really the condition for this initiative to bear fruits. There is something that may sound maybe far-fetched a little bit, but it's a question of timing. You see, energy has been apprehended very much as an infrastructure problem or as an enabler of socio-economic development, which it is, of course, and a vital one, I should add.
fellowship program, which is the start for trying to place people within ministries to help them advance the reform commitments that are necessary, but also to help them mobilize the capital that's needed. But this is just the beginning. So with modest amounts of grant money, and I already talked to Rémy about this to see if we can do things with friends and with others, that we can expand this so that we make sure that the countries with smaller budgets, smaller governments, smaller populations are able to navigate all of our organizations to really take advantage of the money that's out there. So an incredible amount of thanks to all of our panelists and to your organizations and to all of you. And again, a reminder to all the ministers that are here to please remind your heads of state that tomorrow we'll be looking for commitments from them as well. Thanks, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think one more thank you, and that's to Andy Herkovitz for an excellent moderation. Let's give him a round of applause. As we take a moment for a photo opportunity, allow me just to bring to your attention a quick information about the Wi-Fi. If you are looking for the Wi-Fi, it is the Wi-Fi that reflects the abbreviation of our event, AES 2025, and of course, the password in all capital letters is AES 2025 at guest. All capital letters, AES 2025 at guest. As they take their photo, ladies and gentlemen, I'm queuing up, coming up next, our next panel, who are all standing by. And I want to give them an opportunity for us to give them their full attention. Thank you very much, gentlemen. There's a hand-holding photograph that's taking place with big smiles. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andy, to his panel. Thank you so very much.